If I asked you how much money you have right now, where would you look? For many people, they'd look at their checking account, since that money is easily accessible and ready to spend. You want to have quick access to your money for things like bills, expenses, and the occasional splurge. But reaching your financial goals and creating healthy financial habits also requires putting your money to work. Today, we're going to talk about how much money you should keep in your checking account and how to make that decision, keeping in mind both emotions and math. According to most experts, a good rule of thumb is to balance your checking account at about 1 month's worth of expenses. If you own a business, work on commission, or have other kinds of variable income, you may want to keep at least 2 months. By keeping a bill cycle's worth of expenses, you have a kind of insurance against smaller emergencies. You know you can at least pay for the next month of your life if you get sick and miss work. Many experts recommend adding a buffer of about 30%, which would keep your bank account high enough that you don't have to worry about non-sufficient fund charges. Banks earn billions of dollars from fees on overdrawn accounts or bounced checks, so make sure you have a bit of extra in your checking account to avoid that, as your monthly expenses can fluctuate. You might start with the goal of keeping the bare minimum of what you spend in a month in your checking account. Think about your housing costs, food, and utilities. To get an even more comfortable cushion, you can work up to the average you actually spend in a month on everything, including entertainment and dining out. For those who can afford it, experts recommend keeping enough cash accessible for a worst-case event, like a car accident or a medical emergency. That's called your emergency fund, and according to experts, it should be at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. If that sounds like a lot of money, consider this. The average car repair costs about $550, and an emergency room visit without insurance will cost on average $2,700. But is your checking account the right place to hold your emergency fund? Checking accounts typically offer very low interest rates. According to the FDIC, the average is less than 1%. That means that while your emergency money sits there waiting for an emergency that hopefully won't come, it is doing little else for you. That's why you may consider moving anything above your month of expenses into a high-yield savings account, which has an average rate of nearly 5%. A high-yield savings account will produce income for you while also providing liquidity, meaning that you can easily access the funds in case of emergency. Let's look at the difference. Imagine you leave an extra $4,000 sitting in a checking account that earns 0.07% in interest, compounding daily. By the end of the year, you'd earn $2.80. By contrast, in a high-yield savings account with a 5% interest rate, you'd accrue more than $200 in interest over that same year. Some banks allow you to transfer money to savings automatically when your checking account hits a certain level. Setting up an automated system like that would help you keep your balance just high enough, but not so high that you're leaving interest on the table. Often, the answer to the question of how much money to keep on hand has just as much to do with personal comfort as it does with expert recommendations. A good rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, but you might need more to feel reassured. So once you've determined what's feasible for your finances, ultimately you should ask yourself what amount of money will help you sleep at night. And if you want more content like this from MarketWatch and the Explainomics playlist, please subscribe and keep checking back for new videos. And we'll see you next time.